going to have to share my screen because when I found out about this issue, I, first of all, was not surprised. I don't know if you were surprised.
Not at all.
And that's the sad thing.
But not surprised.
That is the sad and scary thing. All right. Oh. I'm just going to start typing into Google and see what comes up. I'm scared, but here we go.
Me too. We might have to cut some of this out.
Okay. Millions of men is what I was going to type in. And here's the first thing that comes up. Millions of men will die from stubbornness.
That's true. Because they don't go to the doctor.
But here's here's the billboard. This year, thousands of men will die from stubbornness. No, we won't.
I kind of love that.
Hilarious. And also basically saying, get the preventative medical test that you need. And somebody spray painted, no, we won't.
I love that. That seems like something that you or I would say, like, or do.
Yeah. No, we won't. Okay. No, millions of men. Here's what I was going to type in. Millions of men log into website.
I know. I don't know. We can put on there.
Sharing ideas of how to give their wives a substance that might subdue them.
You know, while we're here at the beginning, if you guys are still here, this is probably going to get demonetized completely.
Probably.
So
we're going to try. We're going to try.
Yeah, we're going to try. If you guys do enjoy this content, for one, please like it. Please share it with anyone you think might enjoy it. Subscribe if you haven't. That's an easy thing to do. It's free. It just lets us know that you're enjoying our content. But just know that this one most likely will be buried and will be demonetized just because of the things that we're talking about. And
it's so as you can see, to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, there are things like we have to use these words. We have to really touch on how big of a deal this is because there's no way around it. This is huge. There's millions of hits and people on this. And so we feel really strongly we need to share it in its entirety and not dumb it down, water it down, whatever you want to say, not be brand friendly. Not that we are anyway, but just saying like, let's do the damn thing the way it needs to be done.
Exactly. So everybody, I'm Megan.
And I'm Kirsten.
And together we are X Mormon Snark. But today we are talking about a problem that is not unique to Mormonism. It is just part of Mormonism, but also part of the culture. And for example, Kirsten, I'm just going to tell you that today it is very rainy outside where I am. Mm-hmm. For the purposes of this video, I might have to disguise what I'm saying and say it's grainy outside.
Yes, exactly.
So instead of saying the exact word, we are going to talk about grapes and grapes in the culture of the world, but particularly America, where the patriarchy is very strong. Yes. And when I heard about this story, the horrifying thing to me is that I was not surprised. Kirsten,
same.
Were you surprised?
Not even slightly. It's something that I was aware goes on. I was not aware, I guess, the extent of the website and sharing ideas. But again, it didn't surprise me at all because that's unfortunately things that we've been exposed to as women. It's not even locker room talk. It's way worse than that. It's combined
and also
cultural ways to do horrible things and talk about it.
I just have to address the idea of locker room talk, first of all, because first of all, it's a concept that was invented by men to say that like when we're in the locker room and it's just us bros together, it's okay for us to talk about grapes.
Yeah.
It's okay for us to talk about grabbing them by the kitty cat.
Yeah.
No, it's not. If you are in a situation with a group of males and they are talking about doing things to females without their consent, that is rape. That is assault. It is not okay. It's not okay just because there aren't any women present.
No.
You do. I hope that you do realize that if you've ever been in a situation where you're in public and you smack somebody on the butt or you grab somebody, that's assault because it is non-consensual contact in a way that is objectionable on so many levels, but literally legal, under the legal definition, that's assault.
Yeah. 100%.
And one of the things Kirsten and I have talked about is how when women get together, we sometimes will talk about traumatic things that have happened to us. We, in order to try to find common space and to bond and say, I wasn't the only one. It is just a fact that 1 in 3 females at some point in their lives has experienced some level of this type of unwanted contact.
Yeah.
And the degrees vary from an unwanted touch all the way to 4th base, right?
Yep.
However, what my understanding is that when men get together, they don't talk about an indiscretion. They might have crossed the line. They might have gone a little too far. They might have done something that was not wanted. And please correct us if we're wrong, men. Do you have these conversations when there are not women present? Do you talk about the fact that maybe you might have gone too far and you feel really bad about it? Or do you brag to each other about the fact that you got what you wanted regardless of how she felt? I said what I said. I don't feel bad about it. I think there are many kind and respectful men in our lives, Kirsten. But there are also those men who are not, and who will not ever openly talk about the fact that maybe they did something they shouldn't have done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
this morning, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if it's 1 in 3 females that have experienced this type of unwanted contact, then how many males are there that have perpetrated it?
Yeah.
Probably the same number.
Yeah. Which personally, I think whenever they say it's 1 in 3, I think it's higher than that. It has to be, because every single woman I know has had some sort of unwanted sexual behavior towards them.
Well, 1 in 3 is what's reported.
Oh, exactly.
And we all know there are so many more that don't get reported.
And frankly, this kind of talks about, the purity culture, is that I truly think there's some people that don't realize it, because myself, as I was deconstructing, I started realizing things that happened were non-consensual, and things that I brushed off as being a little odd, maybe uncomfortable. I didn't realize that's what it was. And having the full understanding of what a consensual act is made me start putting the pieces together and be like, what the
Exactly.
Very much so. My entire life, I saw a thing online that they said, as women, when was the first time you experienced unwanted either sexualizing of you or unwanted touch in some way, or something like that, people saying things like that to you? People were putting 3, 5, 6, and I'm in that same boat.
I think it starts with relatives expecting hugs and kisses from children, just like as an expected part of the relationship of like, oh, you haven't seen your auntie, your uncle, your grandma, your grandpa, whatever, in such a long time. They want hugs and kisses from you. That's not okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to tell your children, if that makes you uncomfortable, you don't have to give hugs and kisses. But my oldest daughter has been really, really good about saying, you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. And there have been times when I've been there in person visiting, when I'm like, can I please have a hug? I would love a hug. And he's like, no, not right now. And I'm like, okay, you just have to be okay with that. Allow the child to give you affection when they feel comfortable, and when they don't take it personally. It's not about you, you know. But so many of us as young children were forced to like allow people to hug and kiss us, or we were forced to give hugs and kisses when we didn't want to. And that's literally where it starts. No is a complete sentence, and you can refuse contact at any time for any reason, and it's perfectly okay.
I want to touch on specifically, at least this was my experience, freaking men in adult leadership, or adult men in leadership in the church specifically, always wanting hugs. And as a kid, I hated it. And everyone acted like it was normal. It'd go in, the bishop always wanted to hug, the stake president always wanted to hug. Like, I always hated it, but it was like, oh, it's church, it's family, it's the bishop, it's blah, blah, blah. And if you didn't want to do it, then you were rude, you know? And
let's just blanketly say, adult men should not be soliciting hugs from children, period.
Adult women should not be soliciting hugs from children. Like, adults do not need to hug children. You know, your kids are different or whatever. But even then, if they don't want to hug, don't force them to give you a hug. Like,
yes, exactly.
You know, it's weird.
Just ask.
Stop being weird. Just stop being weird, okay?
Well, just ask. And I think that's the normal, like, Kirsten, this is what we need, a t-shirt that says just ask. Consent should be normalized. Just ask. Can I have a hug? Can I give you a hug? That should be what's normal, not just like holding out your arms and expecting the kid to come, or even if the kid doesn't like naturally gravitate towards you, like pulling them in for a hug. No. Ask. Can I give you a hug? That should be what's normal. Anyway.
Yes.
We have digressed.
We haven't, though, because it's important.
Well, I mean, it's all part of the same topic, right? But when I put in this search, you know, this is what comes up, and this is what we need to talk about. So it says, a recent investigative report by CNN exposed a global network referred to as an online grape academy, where men use forums and private chat groups to share methods for giving substances and then taking what they want without consent of their own wives or partners. One primary website identified in the report, which is motherless.com, received approximately 62 million visits in February of 2026 alone, with traffic increasing to over 81 million in March.
It's insane.
And this is what's crazy to me, is that Kirsten and I talked about this earlier. When I heard this, I was unsurprised.
Same.
And I'll show you a Facebook post that I made quite a while back, maybe even a year ago, where something similar was happening in Mormon circles. And that's why we say, like, it's not unique to Mormonism, but Mormonism is a patriarchal culture where men feel entitled to take what they want, and women feel obligated sometimes to comply because of the way the culture is set up.
I want to share while you're looking for that as well. You know, me and Megan talked about, we all know women that experience this, but no man knows a perpetrator. They don't, you know, and I've even had this conversation with men in my life because I push buttons, let's be honest. And I had one particular person who I said, who was insisting, no, I have the best. I can't even think of one person I know that would do that. And I started to laugh and I was like, I can name 5 in your very close circle right now. And I did. And their jaw dropped to the floor. Because I think in that moment, whether this individual wants to admit it or not, I think part of them agreed with me, honestly, that they would also not be surprised if they found out any of those friends had done something, you know?
Right.
And I also qualified it and I was like, I'm not saying necessarily all the way, although inside I did think that. But I'm like, you're telling me you don't know a single person that would have any sort of unwanted contact, whether it be, like Megan said, a grab or a slap or a forced kiss, anything like that. And yeah, it just changed the conversation, which I thought was interesting. Anyways, please continue, Megan.
I mean, this is, you know, the important part of the conversation is that if at any time you have taken something that was non-consensual, like that really is crossing the line. I think a lot of men don't realize that. And even to the point of where if you're trying to persuade someone and they are constantly saying, no, thank you, and they're trying to be polite about it, there is probably a part of them that is screaming the word no. And they don't feel safe or comfortable or confident enough to be mean to you, frankly, because as women, we are taught to be quiet. We are taught to be compliant. We are taught to not be rude. We constantly get told all the time by people, just smile, smile. Like, what if I don't want to smile at you? You know?
Oh, you know what I started saying? Because this does happen to me still, especially when I'm in work settings. I said it. Why don't you smile? Kirsten, what's wrong? How's your day? Why don't you smile? I started saying you first. Because what? Why? Why do you need me to smile? Maybe it's, no, not maybe it's, I don't need to. You first. Okay.
Well, I think there's also this element that men in particular are threatened by strong women.
Yeah.
And smiles make them feel safe, because if we're smiling, then we're happy and we're not going to push back on anything they say. And they're too fragile to endure that pushback. So that's kind of a rabbit hole tangent for another time.
What if this is the smile though, Megan? That's what I'm going to do. When he asks me to smile, I'll be like, how's that?
I'm happy.
It's fine.
No, I will tell you.
I like it.
I will tell you too that one of the comments I got most often when I was an indoctrinated, brainwashed Mormon was that, oh man, she always has a smile on her face. She's always so happy about everything. And most of the time it was like, I'm dying inside and, oh, there's a person I should smile at. That was it.
Yes.
It was like not genuine. It was like, I don't want to be on this planet anymore. But
toxic positivity. We talked about
I know that
last
I am in a church setting and there are people who have expectations of me that if I am righteously living the gospel, that I will be happy.
Period. Yep.
And that's what I would do because that's what I was programmed to do. So
anyways.
So two different, like two sides of the same coin is number one, in patriarchy, women are terrified all the time.
Yes.
We are constantly thinking about protecting ourselves and being safe. Our head is on a swivel. Kirsten and I, particularly both of us working in industries that are male dominated, we're constantly thinking about the impact of our words and our actions on the male contingency. We're constantly being told to be smaller and be quieter. I got called young lady all the time because it was diminutive, you know, it diminished my power, my authority, and frankly, my intelligence. And to a certain degree, you know, I still do receive a lot of pushback. What I find really encouraging, though, Kirsten, is that in my current role, where I am in a male-dominated industry, there are a lot of women who find my presence to be safe.
Yeah, same.
And where they would not be responsive to the men in my field, they're responsive to me because they say, oh, here is an intelligent woman who knows what she's talking about, and I will listen to her. Where they won't listen to my male counterparts because there's a certain element of pushiness that goes with that. Anyway.
I also think they reflect, like, for me in particular, where I'm at, I think they do find a level of trust and relatability in that.
Yes.
I've been divorced. I'm a mom. I've had to rebuild, things like that. Even something that's come up is, I've lost my mother. And sometimes we connect on that. And in a way that they just don't see themselves reflected in the men in my field. Honestly, it's just something that, they're able to talk more openly with me than they would with a man. And sometimes it's even been where they request to speak only with me because they don't feel heard by the other male counterparts in my office.
Yeah. So the other thing that I would like to emphasize to the men in our audience whom we love, thank you so much for being here in this largely female space.
Yes.
I can't say enough about how I appreciate the men who do come in here to sometimes be chastised and criticized. Just because
I want to say something really quick.
Go ahead.
Megan said this is a mainly female, actually, Megan doesn't look at our analytics that often. I do. We have more male watchers than female. We just have more females in our chat when we do live guests.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I know, because you don't look at our analytics, but I do. But also, I think part of it is, I'm going to say it because you've said it before. I think they watch a lot of our shorts because they see a little blonde girl talking and then they get mad because we get more evil men comments on our shorts than we do on our videos. I said,
you know what, Kirsten, I 100% agree with you. They see, little blonde girl in the shorts, and then they get mad when they hear our content. So here's what I want to say to the men in the audience. If you are here and you are willing to reflect and examine your role in the patriarchy, you are welcome. Thank you so much for being here. You are rare and beautiful, and I love that. Yeah. If you are a man who is here just simply to prove us wrong,
to mansplain, if you will.
To mansplain. Kirsten and I are both mansplaining survivors. Here's what I want you to do as a thought experiment. If you're willing, if you dare, because this is a bold idea, get into a room where it's mostly female. And I want you to ask the women in your circle, how often are you afraid that you're going to be assaulted?
Yeah.
How often are you walking alone, either down the street or in a parking garage, where you have your head on a swivel because you're constantly aware that there's a possible threat?
Or how in often, a park in the middle of broad daylight and someone stands outside the bathroom and waits for you and then tells you you're beautiful and asks for your phone number and then parks behind your car and won't let you out of the parking lot. Not that I'm speaking from experience or anything. That was 2 weeks ago.
Yes. So anyways, ask the females in your circle if they've ever experienced something like that. And then ask yourself if you ever experienced something like that. Has there ever been a time when you've been in a public place and you've been worried about getting unwanted contact? Let's say it that way. How often are you concerned when you're at a bar that you can't leave your glass unattended because you're worried about somebody putting something in your drink? How often have you been concerned at a bar or in any public space that you're going to get unwanted attention? How often, and this is one of the most telling things to me, how often have you pulled out of your garage or your parking space and you have waited for the garage door to go completely all the way down before you feel safe to leave. Because for women, that's an everyday occurrence. For women, these are our everyday thoughts, carrying our keys in a certain way, not being distracted when we're out in public, adjusting our clothing so that we don't get unwanted attention. These are all things that women experience all day, every day, that most men have never even thought about. And in my particular case, regularly and often checking the sex offender database to see who might be around me when I'm in a particular area. That's something that most men have never done and will never do because they don't have to. But me as a female out in public, whether I'm working or just, walking my kids to school, I need to know where these people live.
Can we please also normalize or just, I guess, request, do not approach a woman walking alone. Like, just don't. Even if it's for a kind thing or like telling them that anything. Or if you have something like to warn them or tell them or say you look like you're about to drop your items, say it from a far distance. Please, for the love of God, do not approach a woman who is alone. Okay. That just like puts the fear in a way that I can't describe, I guess, or people won't understand if it hasn't happened to you. But just be aware that is a scary thing. That's like taking a big dog off leash and letting it charge at someone, even if they're going to jump up and be friendly. Like, just don't. I don't want a German Shepherd running towards me at full blast. And I love dogs. So to me, it's the same feeling. I'm serious.
Yeah,
like,
I agree with you. Like,
just don't do it. Even if you have positive intentions, just don't do it. It's scary.
Yeah. Like if I'm walking down the street and a man across the street on a busy street yelled to me, "I think you look beautiful," and then walked away, I would love that. That would be a positive interaction. But please don't come up behind me or even walk quickly towards me and say that to me in my face, because that's not a compliment to me. That's a threat.
Also, don't come up to them and bear your testimony. That also has happened to me. If I am running, going on a jog, I do not care that you believe Jesus is king. Hashtag
Great.
No kings means Jesus too. I said what I said.
Look, if you want to yell it to me as I'm running away from you and you're also running in the opposite direction, Jesus is king. Okay, whatever, dude.
Right.
That's non-threatening. That's different. Please don't stop me and try to have that conversation with me. I don't know. It's one of those things that, again, Kirsten, like you and I have wonderful men in our lives, but a lot of times they don't think about these things and they don't realize. Right. So we're getting down a little bit of a rabbit hole. So I want to go back to the main topic because it does tie back into a subject of Mormonism. And I want to make sure that we accurately describe what has been going on this last week. CNN released this article / video where it says a months-long investigation uncovers a hidden network of men sharing tips on how to
do the things.
Substance abuse and then assault women.
Yeah.
So this video is the reporter speaking to women who survived this type of abuse and then tracks down a man who boasted about graping. And this is what we want to talk about, is the idea of marital assault, because it happens a lot in purity culture. It happens a lot in Mormonism. And then kind of while we're talking about this, I will pull up a kind of disturbing Facebook post that I made about a year ago where I discovered something that was happening within Mormonism. So I know, Kirsten, we've talked a little bit about this before, but the purity culture of saving yourself till marriage puts an incredible amount of pressure on men and women to make the wedding night a certain type of experience. And I had my own, obviously I had my own experience. I have not really talked about it publicly before. I'm willing to share, but I'm curious about, I know that you've shared some experiences from your friends and acquaintances and whatever. of the wedding night being a situation that is not always consensual. And I just think it makes me really sad.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that makes me more sad, and I think I've shared before, is that often if they have not left religion or deconstructed the patriarchy or whatever you want to call it, they kind of laugh it off, or they make it seem like it's not a big deal, or
like it's normal.
That's what a wife does. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But it's not normal. Something I feel really passionate about is teaching consent and what that means and looks like, because specifically in Mormonism, as I was growing up, there was no talk about consent at all. I did not understand it until well into my 30s, and it's funny. One of the reasons I learned more about consent is because I was in a relationship where it was key and talked about a lot and asked a lot. Is this okay? Do you want to do this? How do you feel about this? And that was I'll even share like my first kiss with John. He even said, I'd really like to kiss you. But is that okay? Is it okay if I kiss you? And I was like, yeah, but I had never even considered, because I'd never experienced that. But just knowing that someone cared enough to ask and make sure, we were on the same page is huge. And I think specifically in high demand religions or in purity culture, it needs to be talked about, asking and being okay with receiving the answer no. Because consent goes into all relationships, and no means no at any point. If it was first yes and then you change your mind, that means no. If it's hemming and hawing or I don't know or seeming reluctant, all of that means no, even if you've been in a long-term relationship.
Yeah, 100%.
The end, point blank.
Yeah. And I think that's the conversation that needs to be had more often, is that at any point, not just at the beginning, not just in the middle, at any point. And we all have to be willing to have that conversation, that we've all been in a situation where we changed our mind. And, that's a thing that women get shamed for all the time, is like, oh, well, originally you said, and now you're just changing your mind in the middle. How am I supposed to deal with it? Well, you're a fucking adult. You can learn to deal with disappointment. Okay. We all need to learn to deal with disappointment. And just because somebody agreed to something or seemed okay with something, they're allowed to change their mind.
Yeah.
100% of the time. And, what makes me, nervous, scared, angry, is that there are so many men out there who feel entitled to see it through and finish it because, there was initial consent. And that's, I think, probably the most common type of assault that exists out there, is where a man feels entitled to the end because there was consent at the beginning. And,
along those same lines, also, I really, really want to make the point that in purity culture specifically, men are taught that they don't have control over those urges. Right. That women, are things to be looked at and lusted after, and it's so bad because men can't control their bodies or their feelings or their hormones. And
it's the woman's fault for looking too good.
Well, and then if you get to that point, they feel like, well, I can't stop it now. That's normal. Right. That's natural. I have no control over this. You did this. That's something that really needs to be talked about too, because that is also the harmful part of purity culture. It's not just making women feel bad about their bodies, and now they want to wear crop tops and show their shoulders and bikini. It's not just that. It's men unlearning that they can't control things.
Yes.
You know, that's something that I hate so much. Like, you 100% can. This is not like, it might be uncomfortable, but sorry, like,
so
there are other ways.
you know, in psychology, like, let's get a little bit into psychology, right? Even in psychological studies, toddlers are able to practice restraint. They are able to practice impulse control. It's this
Yes.
idea of like, I'm going to put 2 marshmallows in front of you, and
Yes.
you can eat one of them right now, but you can only eat the other one if you wait 5 minutes. 3 and 4-year-olds, most of the time, they can't do it. But by the time you get to the age of 5, you recognize that you will get more if you wait a little while. So if 5-year-olds can do it, then grown-ass adult men can do it too. And women, I will say that too, because men are not
Yes.
the only perpetrators out there, of course.
Right.
Far more prominently, it's men. But obviously, men do get assaulted also, and women are perpetrators also.
Yes.
But the whole idea of like, oh, well, we've gone too far now. I can't possibly. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. And don't make it the woman's responsibility. You know, I was taught in, you know, it's really sad that I have to bring this up as a way that I was taught. But when I was trafficked as a child, I was taught by my abusers that how do I say this, Kirsten, in YouTube friendly terms? If it goes up, it's my responsibility to take care of it. That was what I was taught as a 7-year-old by people who were abusing children.
Yeah.
So if that's an unhealthy concept that is taught by perpetrators, why are we still spinning this narrative in healthy adult relationships? Just because it goes up doesn't mean that it's your responsibility to take care of it. For women, that's the message. And for men, go take care of it on your own time. Like, you're perfectly capable of that. We all know. Women are too, by the way. There is no situation in which it is okay for you to force someone else to take care of something you can take care of yourself. And that goes for men and women too.
Correct.
Here's the super horrible thing that I want to share. I posted this on my Facebook because I was so horrified by it. I don't post a lot on my social media because a lot of my faithful family members still follow me there. But I did post this. This is something I reposted, a text message that was screenshotted with a Discord link. And here is what the text message says for those of you who are just listening, not watching. Listen, first off, I recognize this might not be your thing. This was obviously a text message that was received because it's gray, right? I hope you take this in the spirit it was intended, which is something that toxic Mormon people say all the time.
Which we have gotten on ours, by the way. This is said with love, and I hope you understand how it's intended. Yeah.
Yes, I hope you take it that it was intended with love, but now I'm going to trash you.
Right, exactly.
It's basically like saying no offense, but, and then you say something offensive. That's basically what that means.
Yeah.
We have a group on Discord where LDS guys are able to safely and discreetly share pictures of their LDS wives. Someone who knows you thinks your wife is attractive and that you just might be interested in joining. If you're interested, feel free to tap the Discord link below to join and express interest. If you're not interested, that's totally cool. We totally get it. This is a no pressure and no judgment invitation either way. If you're not interested, then please just delete and disregard this message. Pretend like it never happened. You won't hear from us again. We don't want anyone to get in trouble, and we don't want to cause any problems for anyone. If you're interested, we'd love to have you. First of all, fuck you.
Yeah. Why
Okay.
didn't they have the Discord there?
The
It's cut off.
Discord link is below. It's cut off. But first of all, just if you're sending this kind of message, fuck you. Okay?
100%.
Because you are asking people to participate in what is called revenge pornography, where, or, you know, maybe not even revenge, but non-consensual distribution of pornographic images of someone you're supposed to be married to, committed to, somebody that you love, your eternal companion.
Married in the temple, taking covenants and know her new name, which they take very seriously.
And you're going to what? Share images of her that you've taken, that you've not told her that you've taken, or even if it was a consensual image that you took, then you're going to non-consensually share it with other people? Like this, obviously this triggers me because this was the exact situation I experienced as a child. People took pictures and videos of me that I could not consent to, and then distributed to God knows how many people for money.
Yeah. And
even though this is not for money, I guarantee you it's for clout. I guarantee you it's for the man feeling like look at this thing that I have. Don't you want it? But you can't have it. But here's a picture of it. Let me tempt you with it. Let me use my wife for online clout. Like, this is the most disgusting, depraved thing. I could not believe what I was seeing. And at the same time, I was unsurprised. So that's why this whole situation with the website also made me very angry.
Yeah. I might cut this part out, but there was a person that I dated at BYU who bragged to me that their LDS boss would take non-consensual pictures of their spouse and send them to his employees. Yeah. And the guy I was dating had received them, and he was very upset. He ended up switching jobs shortly thereafter, but it was like a joke in the office that it was a regular occurrence.
That, first of all, the fact that it was a joke in the office is incredibly disturbing. Like, it's a joke.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, so and so he sent me a picture of his wife. Isn't that no, that's not funny. That's not funny. And here's the other thing that really bothers me about this message. It's like, if you got this message and you're not down with it, it's totally cool. We get it. No pressure. Yeah. Delete the message and disregard it. Don't report it to the authorities. Don't tell your wife. Don't tell your bishop. Don't tell your stake president. Don't come back at me and be like, who is this? Or search my number, or get the Discord shut down, or any of that stuff. Like, just don't do anything with it. It's fine. Just disregard. You won't hear from us again.
Because the spirit that was intended was that your wife is pretty and we want to see her body.
No. Like, the spirit that was intended is your wife is hot and somebody wants to use her image.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody wants to use her image for their own pleasure. That's the spirit in which that message was intended. But no pressure, dude. If you don't want to, it's cool, bro.
Just delete and disregard.
Just delete it. Just pretend I never asked. It's like, Kirsten. Kirsten, will you send me nudes? But if you don't, just pretend I never asked. Pretend that I didn't cross that boundary. Pretend that I didn't just completely blow up our entire friendship by asking you for something inappropriate.
Yeah, how could you go to church and see that person? You know, even the person
teaching that gospel doctrine,
or be afraid, like you don't know who the other person is, thinking those thoughts about your spouse, like.
Or imagine this, Kirsten. Imagine this scenario. Imagine that you're in the most holy and sacred place in all of Mormonism, and you're at the veil of the temple, and some random hand comes through the hole. And to your horror and shock, when you get pulled into the veil, you are face to face with the person who asked you for nudes of your wife.
I hate all of that. I hate it. I hate it.
But it happens.
But it happens.
It happens, and we have to talk about it, because when we don't talk about it, it just gets worse. And people feel empowered and entitled to continue to perpetuate this type of culture where it's okay to have these kinds of conversations.
I'm going to say this with my full chest. Hyper-religious people are the most sexually screwed up. They like truly are. They just have, and I don't want to shame at all, because I don't. Like, you do you. I'm not going to yuck on your yum ever. Like, as long as it's consensual between adults, I don't care what freaky stuff you want to do. However, the non-consensual stuff is what bothers me a lot. And I believe in these hyper-religious, hyper-purity culture stuff. Like, it just breeds deviance, because they have no healthy conversations about anything having to do with any of that. I mean, Megan calls it the Rocky Mountain sex cult, and that's what it is.
I stole that term, by the way, from Cara Burrell, who I love. She's wonderful. She and Samantha from Zelf on the Shelf did a little TikTok on that I thought was hilarious. But that's really what, like, Mormons are obsessed with sex. Like, nobody is more obsessed with sex than Mormons. Like, who else talks so much about pornography and underwear and addiction and all, like, it is all Mormons talk about. Like, you cannot get through an entire general conference session without somebody mentioning it. Like, it just is an obsession. And it's kind of the pink elephant thing, where it's like, don't think about the pink elephant. Well, guess what? We're all going to think about. So
it sparks curiosity too. You know, I was talking the other day about the DARE program, because we saw a DARE table at the mall the other day. It was so weird. But like,
from the 90s.
They stopped doing the DARE program because they found out that it wasn't preventing it. It was making kids more curious about it.
Yes.
And I think that's what all this talk about does for children, or, you know, that grow up to be very unhealthy adults. It has
Kirsten,
this like need to look for it, because they're so curious about it, because it's been so talked about. I mean, I think it's the same way that, you know, Mormon women leave the church and the first thing they want to do is buy a bikini and get their nose pierced. Like, we all know that's the thing.
Buy a bikini, get your nose pierced, start drinking coffee, get a tattoo,
and be attracted to women. Those are all the things. Check all the boxes.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I swear more than half of the late in life lesbians are Mormon. I said what I said.
The thing is, though, like, I think it's more natural than people want to admit that it is for females to be attracted to females. I mean, it's just anyway, that's a rabbit hole for another time. But what I wanted, one of the things I wanted to say is that I was safely into my late 17th year before anybody ever even mentioned the idea of maybe thinking about some kind of a narcotic substance. But it was fed to me from the time I was 11 years old. And so I was curious about it. I was like, who are these people who are doing these things? And what is it? And how do you get it? And what does it do to you? And what do you know, like all of the classes that I had in health class and like driver's education and all of that, I was like, why is this so attractive to so many people? I'm kind of curious. Should I try it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. 100%. All it does is make people want to look for it and learn more about it or whatever, then
exactly
turn them away from it. And also, this might be in other churches too. Honestly, I've never really looked into it, or that I'm aware, but the Mormon Church has a 12-step program specifically for sexual addiction.
Yes, and Kirsten,
what? Like,
do you know who was behind the formation of that program?
Tim Ballard? I don't know. I'm just kidding.
It was Jody Hildebrandt.
Shut up. Really?
100%.
I
She
did
was
not know that.
instrumental in coming up with the language, the curriculum, all of that, because she was very fond of labeling people with an addiction
Yeah.
when really they were maybe pleasuring themselves once a month, a couple times a
Or
month, and they felt
looking
super,
at,
or looking at,
yeah.
you know, well, let's be honest, like if, anyway, one thing has to do with the other, right? But
Yes.
if
Yeah.
the thing is, like, if you were even trying it, experimenting with it, had done it one time, she would label her patients addicts.
Yes. Yes.
And then and they would have these groups, and there was part of the documentary, the Ruby Franke documentary, where Kevin Franke goes to this group where it's this group of men who are all calling themselves addicts, trying to convince him that he was as well, when it was like normative behavior of
Yes.
self-exploration.
Yeah.
And the definition of addiction, by the way, from, the DSM-5 or 6, whichever you're looking at,
Yeah.
in basic terms, it says that if what you're doing, no matter what it is, alcohol, drugs, whatever, if what you're doing prevents you from having normal, healthy relationships, if it interferes with your daily life, if you're concerned and worried about it all the time, and if you're unable to hold a job, for example, and things like that, then that's an addiction.
Yeah.
It's not an addiction if you're doing it once or twice a month, or even once or twice a week, and you just feel bad about it. That's not an addiction. It's not. And also, certain proclivities would get labeled as an addiction just because it was outside of vanilla.
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, a rabbit hole for another time, but just part of this entire culture that villainizes and demonizes normative behavior.
100%. And that, I just keep going back to the idea of consent because it's so not talked about. And women are treated truly as belonging to the man. And so I really think that they don't see anything wrong with it. Or if they do, I mean, they're like, delete this and disregard. So I think they do at some
They
level.
know. They know it's wrong. That's why they say stuff like that, because they're like, just delete it, because I don't want it to be tied back to me.
But I mean, they act like it's so normal. It's in these groups, and what Megan was showing is not an isolated situation, obviously. Like, I am curious for that website, how many of those people have a strong religious affiliation?
This is kind of scary. Let me actually share this screen right here to show you what is happening. This is the CNN report.
Okay. Okay.
Hello, is anyone awake? This is Peter. He lives in Poland with his wife, who is in her 40s. We're not showing you his face or his real name, but we can show you the messages he sent us. What he says he's doing to his wife is a crime. I managed to record a clip once when I had my last 2 blank pills. My wife doesn't even know that I recorded it. Posing as a user, we found him in a private group, one of many on the messaging app Telegram. Who has experienced their wives grugging?
Yeah.
At any hour, men from around the world gathered on the ZZZ group to swap advice on grugging and then filming the assault of their partners while unconscious. Shared via video and pictures in this group of nearly 1,000 users was treated as a commodity. How many of you are willing to pay to watch my wife while she sleeps? But survivors, including 3 who spoke with CNN for this story, the consequences are devastating, obviously. So I'm not going to read the title of this because it will get us demonetized, but you can go to CNN.com and look at the video that was made. Basically, it's a 17-minute documentary.
Okay, this is how I actually originally found out about it a while ago. I'd say probably about a year ago. That there was a court case the first of its kind, where she actually took her husband to court. Her name is Giselle. Is that correct? Yeah, I see it on there. And she took her husband to court when she found out about these crimes, and won, was actually able to win it, got the divorce, all of the things. But things just started adding up where she had time passing she wasn't aware of, because I believe, please don't quote me on this, because like I said, this was like over a year I'd heard about it when it happened, that she was having side effects from all of the years of having substances given to her. And so she thought she was getting like dementia. And she went to her doctor, and they found stuff in her bloodstream, I believe, or she was able to, I'm not sure 100% how it all went down, but she thought she was having like cognitive issues, and her children were worried about it too, because she was being really like forgetful and losing time and all these things, that people around her were becoming really concerned. And that's how she started digging into it and was able to discover that these things have happened. I wish I could remember the whole thing. I don't know if she found the videos or if she found texts or whatever. But anyways, she discovered it, and I believe he then admitted it to her. I'm assuming, probably thinking they would just get divorced, not she would actually prosecute. But she for sure did, and she won. And she prosecuted, I believe, or they're trying to prosecute more of the other men involved, because he would invite them over to also partake. So there's that.
Yeah, it says in the lawsuit that she was assaulted over 200 times by more than 70 men who were invited over. And this website, motherless.com, it says it's home to more than 20,000 videos of so-called sleep content uploaded by users with hundreds of thousands of views, around 62 million visits in February alone. And it says the core audience is in the United States, describes itself as a, quote, moral-free file host where anything legal is hosted forever. The legality of some of the material posted is in serious doubt. Yes, if it's not consensual, it's not legal.
Yeah. Yeah. To say the least.
Yeah. In these videos, men film themselves lifting the closed eyelids of women to show they are sleeping or sedated, with some, quote, eye check videos surpassing 50,000 views. And then they talk about dosing. They talk about starting with a low dose. If it's not enough, then upping the dose, something in a milkshake, and then giving her additional substances.
Yeah.
Crazy. One motherless user claimed to be running a business selling and dispatching sleeping liquids to any address in the world. The man, who said he was based in Ceuta, a tiny Spanish exclave on the North African coast, said on his Telegram account that it would cost 150 euros for a bottle of the liquid that he said was tasteless and odorless. Quote, your wife won't feel anything and won't remember anything. So obviously this is super disturbing and super gross. I think the thing that is more disturbing to me, though, Kirsten, is when we were talking about this and neither one of us was surprised that this is a thing. And I guess the most disturbing thing is, like, these aren't random encounters with strangers. These are men who are obviously in committed relationships with these women.
Trusted, committed relationships that they have children with, that, they love and care for, and all of the things,
that they say they do.
That's true too. I don't know. It's not just that this is a horrifically awful experience. I think also something like that, trust is broken literally forever. You truly don't know who you are sleeping next to, even if you've been with them for 30 years,
Right. And in a relationship, there's no recovering from this. It's not like you can get help and go to therapy and, learn to trust each other again. Like, no, this is such a huge violation of privacy and intimacy. It's, a breakdown of that relationship forever, because multiple studies have shown that once you cross a line like this, there's really no going back in that relationship, because the perpetrator always views the victim as less than, as manipulatable, as, you know,
an object,
as an object that you can't recover that mindset in the mind of the abuser. It just doesn't happen, even with good therapy and all of that kind of stuff. It just doesn't happen. So if you're in a relationship where your trust has been violated in this way, please know that it's incredibly difficult for the perpetrator to change how they feel about you. Even if they apologize, you forgive them, they're always going to see you as they saw you when they did this to you. And that was a hard thing that I had to get over, overcome in my own relationship. And it's just really unfortunate, but that's the way it is. You are far better off alone, and far better off, trying to use resources to get away from people like this than you are trying to repair that relationship, because it's just not possible, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Yep. Like Megan said, that's what I was going to say. There is no amount of therapy or marital counseling that will fix this. It is a crime, and it was perpetrated against what's supposed to be the most close relationship in your life. So yeah, just reiterating what Megan said. And I hope that so badly that the victims or survivors of all of this are able to get the help that they need to hopefully heal, and able to prosecute to the fullest extent if possible.
Yeah, 100%. It's another reason why it's so important early on in your relationships to have these types of conversations of like, have you ever been in a relationship where you have done anything non-consensual? Have you been in a situation where you were accused of doing something non-consensual? Now, accusation is not proof. However, we should believe victims, we should believe survivors, people who come forward, and then fact check, and see what the details are.
Yeah.
One of my biggest problems is that, people who have perpetrated these types of situations then go on to do it again and again and again to other partners. And they tell themselves over and over, this time is different. This partner is different. It's a different situation. I'm not going to do that anymore. But without extensive therapy and help, there's no way for them to change that mindset. And just to kind of wrap up this horrible content that we're talking about, I just think we need to have more open conversations about consent in general. Parents need to teach their children consent, both girls and boys. And we need to do a better job of, I think, teaching. I mean, I didn't do a good enough job of teaching my children, should I just say, that no means no, and that you should always be asking for consent, and that for girls, like, you don't have to explain yourself. No is a complete sentence, and it's a complete sentence at any time in the process of any interaction. And I love just the phrase of, please respect my no, please respect my boundaries, please respect what I said. Don't, what bothers me more than anything else is that there's this gradual creep of like, I know you said no, but how about this? But how about this? But how about this? But how about, it's like, a no is a real full stop no.
Yeah. I also want to say that if you have a gut feeling that something is off, or if you feel a reason to be concerned in any way at all, or you find yourself Googling what are the signs of X, Y, and Z at night, that doesn't come out of nowhere. Like, just know that those feelings, like, your instincts are correct. I have found more often than not. It is not the spirit. It is not God prompting you. You know what is right and wrong for you. Like, your body knows. And if you feel something is off, it's because it is, so please protect yourself. I'm not just talking about women, men too. I will readily admit men can be in situations that are not good as well, whether it's physical or emotional or whatever. If you find that you have concern and you're Googling things and looking up, or asking friends if they felt similar ways, like, there's a reason you feel like that. So please trust yourself and honor yourself enough to take action on it. Even if you don't find hard proof, and I know this is really a difficult thing to say and to hear, you do not need evidence to know that you feel unsafe. Okay.
Right.
You don't need a receipt, as much as we're like, bring receipts. You don't need that. If you don't feel safe in your relationship, you don't feel safe. Period. You don't need to have all of the hard reasons. Just if you don't feel safe, you don't feel safe. And please get help and find a way to live your life where you can be in a safe place, especially in your home. I feel like that should be the bare minimum, that you can feel safe in 100%. Your own home.
Yeah.
So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I think we as women, we don't trust our instincts enough because we get told a lot of the time that we're too loud, we're too much, we change our mind, whatever the
too emotional
language is, we're too emotional. Yeah. So, trust your own instincts. You deserve to be treated with kindness and respect. And if you're not, you deserve to leave. And that's the bottom line. Life is too short to be with people who take advantage of you and who try to, constantly put themselves in a place where you don't want them. I personally just I've wasted too much of my life in situations where I was trying to be kind, or I was trying to be polite, or I was trying to be accommodating.
Yes.
You don't have to do any of that. Whether it's a man or a woman, you don't have to do any of that. I also just want to say, I know from firsthand experience how difficult it is to make a report. Yeah. And I just want to give you the empowerment of how important that is, not just for yourself, but for other people too. If you have been with an unsafe person, your report not only empowers you and validates you of what you deserve as a human being, but it also saves future victims as well.
Yes.
But don't do it for the future victims. Do it for you, because you deserve it. You deserve to not have to carry water for the people who mistreated you throughout your life. Yeah. It's not really a topic we can be snarky about, unfortunately, because it's so prevalent and it's so harmful. And we both have experienced it on many levels throughout our lives. And I just want to say, like, it says 1 in 3 women, but honestly, it's probably every single woman at some point, because of the reporting statistics. Women don't feel comfortable coming forward. They don't want to get people in trouble. They don't want to go through the hassle of not being believed. It's my word against his.
Recognize it. They don't recognize it for what it is. That's my biggest thing, because many, many things happened to me over the years that I did not recognize as that until I fully understood it, So yeah.
Yep. Any violation of your personal space, your personal body, your personal privacy is not okay. And you are worthy enough and worth enough to make a report about it. And you know what? Even though I know that in my bones, it's still hard to do. Still at, 51 years old, it's still hard to do. The programming of the patriarchy is so deeply ingrained in us, but we're here for you, and we're here to empower you that you deserve it and you're worth it.
I'm going to say this with my full chest at the end, right before we close here. As much as I hate that men have this patriarchal idea and hold things up and do horrible things to women, I am equally angry at women who make excuses for them and then victim blame. Okay. I'm going to say that, and maybe I'll get canceled. I don't care. I will stand on that 10 toes, because I feel like that is equally, if not more so, harmful, because then when you are looking for women's voices to speak out and say, this is not right, they'll say, well, she's a woman and she said XYZ. And so we trust her more than we trust you. Yeah. And that happens. I feel like I experienced it in the Mormon church with leaders saying, well, you shouldn't wear that, or what were you doing? Or should you have gone on that date? Or should you have been that? And I feel like that is more harmful coming from a woman than it is from a man, because then they'll say, well, that she said that and she's a woman. She never experienced that. well, look how she acts, and that didn't happen, you know, which, by the way, is all a lie. Like, yeah. Anyways, I really wanted to put that in here because I feel very, very strongly about it. And it
I
needs
do
to be
too.
said.
Yeah, I do too. And I firsthand experienced that when I experienced an assault. I was asked the questions of, well, why were you even in that situation? And then I was told, you shouldn't have been drinking. You shouldn't have been alone with the person. It was 100% victim blaming. And I blamed myself for the large majority of my life. It wasn't until I went to therapy and learned about boundaries for the first time in my life that I learned that it was not my fault, and that no matter what it was that I had done leading up to that event, that didn't give him the right to do that to me. And I think that's what a lot of women perpetuate, this idea of like, well, you know, slut shaming. If you didn't put yourself in that position, if you weren't wearing that thing, if you didn't say that, you know, and there were also situations where I was only comfortable going so far, but I was pushed farther than I wanted to without being given an opportunity to consent or not. And that has to do with, you know, again, just boundaries and discussions beforehand, conversations about consent and all of that. So we're just here to empower those types of conversations and to empower anybody who's been in a situation where they feel like they have been pressured or they've been victimized in any way, you know, to just validate your experience and to let you know you're not alone, and to also hopefully spur you on to reporting these kinds of incidences and, you know, protecting yourself as much as you possibly can in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Megan, thank you for tackling this incredibly hard topic with me. I'm glad we're having this discussion. Obviously, this episode is a little bit shorter than some of our other ones because, for one, it's hard to talk about, but also, you know, again, we're most likely going to have some sort of YouTube punishment for this.
We're going to get sent to YouTube timeout. Kirsten, shorter, it's still going to be over an hour. I think we're good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyways, thank you guys for being here. Please remember to join us on Monday for our family night live at 6 p.m. where we have delicious treats, aka adult beverages, and talk about our Book of Mormon reader, which, not Book of Mormon anymore. We finished it last week. Now we're doing the Doctrine and Covenants,
church history.
Is church history, and this is what they teach children. So I'm pretty excited to go through it, and we can really not only hopefully educate you guys on truly what it's like to have history written by the person who thinks they are the hero and may or may not be a white hetero male.
Predator.
Predator. So I think it's going to be interesting. Right after this, we will have a members only live where we call it a Q&A about the episode, but really it's just a hangout. If you enjoy those kind of things, please consider joining as a member, supporting the channel so we can make more videos like this that YouTube does not find friendly, but we want to share the information. So thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you.
Thanks for your support. And thanks as always for your comments. If you're on the rewatch crew, we absolutely love you. Thanks for being here. And don't forget, Kirsten, I don't know if you remember this or not, but
it's wrong to criticize leaders of the church, even if the criticism is true.